What's scarier than pain? Losing the ability to remember who you are. That's the silent fear that comes with aging, and it's called Alzheimer's. Most people don't talk about it. It's uncomfortable, it's slow, and it doesn't make headlines the way other diseases do. But for millions, the real nightmare isn't death. It's disappearing piece by piece while still breathing. Forgetfulness is brushed off. Confusion is excused. And by the time anyone notices, the mind has already started slipping away. Alzheimer's doesn't just steal memories. It steals independence, relationships, dignity. And once it begins, it rarely stops. Today, we're breaking the silence. We'll show you what really happens to the aging brain, the early signs almost everyone misses, and, most importantly, what you can still do to protect the life inside your mind. Because ignoring it won't make it go away. But facing it head-on might just save everything that makes you truly you. Alzheimer's strikes at something deeper than physical health. It threatens identity itself. Unlike illnesses that affect the body, Alzheimer's dismantles memory, personality, and relationships. It attacks the foundation of who you are, making it harder to trust your own mind over time. Most people avoid speaking about this fear. They dismiss forgetfulness as normal aging, laugh off mistakes, and delay confronting the possibility that something more serious could be happening. The early signs often seem harmless. Misplacing items, struggling to find the right words, forgetting appointments. But beneath these small lapses, profound changes may already be occurring in the brain. The fear of Alzheimer's is not irrational. As people live longer, the chances of facing cognitive decline increase. After 65, the risk doubles every 5 years. By 85, the likelihood of developing Alzheimer's becomes a reality for nearly 1/3 of adults. The difference between Alzheimer's and other conditions is the slow, relentless erosion it causes. There is no single moment of crisis. Instead, there is a gradual fading of memories, skills, independence, and, eventually, recognition of loved ones. Many delay seeking help out of pride or fear. Some hope symptoms will stabilize. Others minimize the changes to avoid facing a diagnosis. But delaying action only allows the disease to progress unnoticed. Early detection offers the best chance to slow decline, preserve independence longer, and plan for the future with dignity. Understanding why Alzheimer's triggers such deep fear is essential. It's not just about memory loss. It's about the risk of losing the life story each person has spent decades building. In the next part, we'll explore what actually happens to the brain after 60 and why recognizing the difference between normal aging and real decline matters more than ever. Eleanor was 76 when her family noticed the first signs. At a family gathering, she struggled to recognize her own grandson. She smiled politely, clearly uncomfortable, and asked his name 3 times in less than an hour. At first, her daughter dismissed it as harmless forgetfulness. But soon, Eleanor forgot birthdays, familiar faces, and conversations that had just happened. She was slipping away, even though she was still physically present. This is how Alzheimer's often begins quietly, without clear warning. The outward signs are subtle, but inside the brain, the damage is already progressing. After 60, the brain naturally undergoes several changes. Not all of them are signs of disease, but understanding these shifts is critical to distinguishing normal aging from something more serious. With age, certain cognitive abilities decline slightly even in healthy individuals. Processing speed slows down, making multitasking harder. Short-term memory becomes less efficient, leading to minor forgetfulness. Word retrieval can take longer, causing occasional pauses in conversation. These changes are common and manageable. They might mean it takes longer to learn a new skill or recall a distant memory, but they do not fundamentally alter a person's ability to function independently or recognize loved ones. In contrast, Alzheimer's causes specific and devastating damage beyond normal aging. One of the earliest targets is the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for forming and storing new memories. As neurons in this region deteriorate, the ability to create new memories weakens, and existing memories begin to unravel. Another critical change is the buildup of amyloid plaques and tau tangles, abnormal protein structures that interfere with communication between brain cells. Over time, They disrupt essential cognitive functions and cause widespread brain tissue loss. This leads to a progressive breakdown in multiple areas. Memory, forgetting familiar people, places, and events. Language, struggling to find words or follow conversations. Judgment, making poor decisions or showing uncharacteristic behavior. Orientation, getting lost in familiar environments. Emotional regulation, experiencing mood swings, anxiety, or withdrawal. These are not just occasional lapses. They signal structural and chemical damage that worsens over time and affects daily life. One of the most challenging aspects of Alzheimer's is the slow onset. Early stages may be mistaken for typical aging or fatigue. Many families, like Eleanor's, hope the issues will resolve themselves. But Alzheimer's doesn't reverse. It progresses steadily unless interventions are made early to slow its advance. Recognizing the difference between normal aging and pathological decline is crucial. Delaying action only narrows the window for effective management strategies, lifestyle changes, cognitive therapies, and medical support that can extend quality of life. Early acknowledgement, even when uncomfortable, gives individuals and families time to prepare, plan, and fight back in ways that denial makes impossible. In the next part, we'll focus on the early warning signs most people overlook and why paying attention could change everything. The first signs of Alzheimer's are rarely loud. They slip into daily life so quietly that even close family members often miss them. It might start with something as simple as repeating a question you just answered. At first, you smile and answer again. Maybe they're just tired. Maybe they're distracted. It doesn't seem serious until it keeps happening. Small financial mistakes are another early clue many people don't recognize. A few unpaid bills. Confusion over a familiar bank statement. Maybe they blame the mail or new technology. But deep down, something isn't lining up the way it used to. Language changes too, but they come softly. Not being able to find the right word isn't unusual with age. But when everyday objects become that thing and conversations start to feel like puzzles missing pieces, it's more than simple aging. It's a warning that the brain is struggling with connections it once made automatically. Getting lost or turned around in familiar places is harder to dismiss. When someone hesitates in a store they visited for years or forgets the route to a friend's house, it signals that spatial memory, the mental map of their world, is starting to erode. Changes in judgment often follow. Someone might give away large sums of money to strangers or fall for obvious scams they once would have laughed at. These aren't character flaws. They're signs that the brain's ability to evaluate risk is breaking down. And slowly, social withdrawal creeps in. The person who once loved family gatherings starts to make excuses. Conversations feel harder. Mistakes become embarrassing. Isolation feels safer than struggling to keep up. Mood changes are harder to tie directly to memory loss, but no less important. Anxiety, irritability, suspicion toward familiar people, small shifts in personality that feel out of place. Often, families notice these changes before they notice memory problems, and too often, they brush them aside. The common thread isn't one symptom. It's the pattern. Familiar tasks becoming difficult, conversations becoming confusing, decisions becoming risky, personality becoming unfamiliar. And because these changes happen slowly, it's easy to explain them away. People want to believe it's just a bad day, a busy week, normal aging. They fear what it might mean if they look closer. So they don't. But ignoring these signs doesn't protect the person experiencing them. It only delays the chance to help while help can still make a difference. Alzheimer's starts quietly, but it never stays quiet. Noticing early matters. Acting early matters even more. In the next part, we'll look at the biggest mistakes people make when they notice these changes and how to avoid falling into the trap of denial. The earliest changes in memory and thinking are often easy to overlook. A missed appointment here, a forgotten name there. Small things that don't immediately seem like cause for concern. They blend into the background of daily life, explained away by stress, distraction, or simply having too much on the mind. Most families don't want to assume the worst. They reassure themselves that occasional forgetfulness is normal, that everyone has moments of confusion now and then. And in many cases, they're right. But the danger lies in how easily people convince themselves that nothing serious could be happening, even when the signs start adding up. It's not just families who fall into this pattern. The individuals experiencing the changes often recognize them before anyone else does, and they may work hard to hide them. A missed name becomes a joke. A wrong turn is laughed off. A lost item is blamed on a busy day. The fear of admitting something more serious pushes people to find excuses that feel safer than facing the truth. This delay is costly. Alzheimer's doesn't wait for acknowledgement. It continues to progress, often silently, while everyone clings to the hope that tomorrow will be better, that what happened today was just an exception. Another common mistake is assuming that as long as someone is managing basic tasks, driving, cooking, attending appointments, there's no real problem. Competence and familiar routines can continue well into the early stages of decline. But holding on to old habits doesn't mean new learning, judgment, and memory are functioning normally. Subtle changes, like difficulty making decisions, organizing steps in a task, or following through on plans, are often the first real signs, not total incapacity. Families also tend to protect each other by smoothing over mistakes. Someone forgets to pay a bill, and a child quietly handles it. A spouse corrects the details of a story without making a scene. These small interventions come from love, but over time, they build a wall between the truth and the people who need to see it most clearly. The longer the reality is avoided, the fewer options remain. Early detection doesn't stop the disease, but it offers critical advantages: more time to plan, better chances to manage symptoms, and an opportunity to maintain independence longer. When action is delayed, what might have been manageable with early intervention can quickly spiral into crisis. Fear of the label of saying something is wrong is understandable. No one wants to see a loved one lose their sense of self. No one wants to face what Alzheimer's really means. But pretending it isn't happening doesn't protect anyone. It only ensures that when the loss becomes undeniable, the time to act has already slipped away. Acknowledging early signs requires courage, not pessimism. It means choosing clarity over comfort, preparing instead of reacting. It means understanding that love sometimes means asking hard questions early, while there are still good answers to be found. In the next part, we'll shift from fear to action, outlining the real steps that can help protect brain health and slow the decline that so often goes unnoticed until it's too late. While Alzheimer's can't yet be prevented or cured, there are real ways to strengthen the brain's defenses. Protection doesn't come from any one solution. It comes from building habits that keep the brain resilient over time, long before symptoms appear. One of the most powerful tools is physical activity. Exercise isn't just about keeping muscles strong. It's about keeping blood flowing to the brain. Regular movement, even simple walking, improves circulation, reduces inflammation, and supports the health of the neurons that are most vulnerable to damage with age. Staying mentally active matters just as much. The brain, like any muscle, responds to use. Learning new skills, solving unfamiliar problems, reading challenging material, these activities build cognitive reserve. It's not about repeating what you already know. It's about pushing your brain into new territory, even when it feels uncomfortable. Social connection is another critical defense that is often overlooked. Isolation, even mild, increases the risk of cognitive decline. Maintaining friendships, participating in community activities, and having regular, meaningful conversations help stimulate the brain in ways that solo activities cannot replicate. It's not the number of people you know. It's the quality of engagement that matters. Nutrition also plays a role. A brain-healthy diet emphasizes foods rich in antioxidants, healthy fats, and nutrients that support vascular health. Diets like the Mediterranean or Mind diet, which focus on vegetables, berries, nuts, fish, and olive oil, have been associated with lower risks of cognitive decline. It's not about chasing miracle foods, it's about consistently giving the brain what it needs to function well. Sleep, often treated casually, is another pillar of brain health. Poor sleep disrupts the brain's ability to clear out toxins, including the proteins that form plaques associated with Alzheimer's. Good sleep habits, keeping a regular schedule, creating a restful environment, avoiding late-night stimulation, aren't just about feeling rested. They're about giving the brain time to repair and maintain itself. Managing chronic conditions is just as essential. High blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, and heart disease all increase the risk of cognitive decline. Keeping these conditions under control isn't just about protecting the heart, it's about protecting the mind. Regular checkups, adherence to treatments, and lifestyle adjustments form a foundation that reduces vulnerability later. Perhaps most importantly, early monitoring of cognitive changes makes a real difference. Paying attention to small shifts, asking for assessments during routine medical visits, and not brushing off concerns gives individuals and families a critical head start. Cognitive decline doesn't begin the day a diagnosis is made, it begins years earlier. Those who act early have more opportunities to slow progression and adapt. It's important to understand that none of these strategies offer guarantees. They reduce risk. They build resilience. They give people a stronger position to fight from if symptoms ever do appear. Waiting for a clear problem before acting wastes precious time that could have been spent strengthening the brain's defenses. Protecting brain health isn't about chasing perfect habits or living in fear. It's about making small, consistent choices that add up over time. It's about treating the brain as the vital, living part of yourself that it is, not just something you use, but something you maintain. In the final part, we'll bring everything together and talk about why facing the reality of cognitive aging early is not an admission of defeat, but a commitment to living with dignity, clarity, and strength for as long as possible. Ignoring the early signs of cognitive decline doesn't stop the disease. It only delays the moment when choices are no longer yours to make. Protecting your brain starts long before symptoms are obvious. It's about recognizing changes early, acting without hesitation, and building habits that strengthen resilience over time. Hope without action changes nothing. Preparation does. Alzheimer's takes more than memory if given the chance. Facing it early is not defeat. It's the best chance to protect independence, identity, and dignity for as long as possible. If you found this message helpful, share it with someone you care about, and tell us in the comments, what's one thing you're doing today to protect your mind? Thank you for watching.